Module 2, PPE. This video is provided for general safety awareness and educational discussion only. It does not constitute training, certification, licensing, or authorization of any kind, and it does not replace manufacturer guidelines, workplace safety programs, or regulatory requirements. No EXQUISITEMAD methods, processes, systems, or techniques are taught, licensed, or implied through this content. Viewers are responsible for their own safety, equipment selection, and compliance. So, one of the things that would be highly suggested and what you would need, especially with working with certain chemicals, would be eye protection. Eye protection is outlined by OSHA compliant safety glasses must meet ANSI Z87.1 standard, requiring impact resistance for high velocity mass, clear vision, and durability, indicated by Z87 or Z87 plus markings on the lenses and frames, often with side shields for better coverage against hazards like flying debris, chemicals, or radiation, ensuring comfort and snug fit for workers. With these safety glasses, the primary benchmark for OSHA eye protection certifying impact resistance is the ANSI Z87- or .1. Look for the Z87 basic impact or Z87 high impact on both lenses and frames. Impact resistant side shields often require for fearful protection, especially in hazardous environments. UV protection necessary where UV exposure is a risk, especially, it can be suggested if you're working outside. Fit and comfort must fit snugly, be comfortable, and not interfere with movement. Hazard-specific needs, chemicals and dust, goggles or face shields for splashes and mist. Welding lasers, specific shade numbers, and radiation protection detailed in OSHA tables. What to look for: durability, strong frame, scratch-resistant coatings, and anti-fog options. Prescriptions can be integrated if they also meet Z87.1 standards. Impulse foam sealed safety. This here is a good example. The eye and face protection is outlined in the OSHA 1910.133 and 1926.102. If you are working around specific environments, this is the guidance that you can go to. It is free to view, and it outlines each individual thing in here that is specific. These safety glasses are available, as you can see, through different resources in different shops and marketplaces. You can get them online right here, and they are OSHA approved. So they have them on Amazon, for instance. Just make sure that they have the ANSI Z87.1. You can get them in bulk. You can get them singularly, by themselves, solo. They have different styles and whatnot, but that could help you from getting your eyes damaged. Can help you and prevent that. Nothing is 100%, but it does protect you. Next is chemicals used in auto detailing. Chemicals used in auto detailing range from everything from, we're going to look in auto detailing. Ranges from everything from tire dressings, APCs, all-purpose cleaners, polishes, paint polishes, metal polishes, you name it. And anything that is used in auto detailing is normally some type of chemical in order to get the job done. With that being said, gloves are required by OSHA for chemical handling. OSHA requires appropriate gloves like nitrile for protection, but the key is selecting the right type based on the specific chemical and task, incidental versus extended contact, the thickness, length, and ensuring proper training for use, as thin nitrile gloves offers limited protection for brief splashes, while thicker options provide better resistance for more serious exposure, balancing dexterity with safety. OSHA requirements for nitrile gloves. Employer responsibility. OSHA requires employers to provide suitable hand protection against hazardous substances. Nitrile's strengths offers good chemical resistance, durability, and puncture resistance, making it a preferred choice over latex for many tasks. Choosing the right glove. The right nitrile glove for incidental contact, brief flashes, thin disposable nitrile gloves are suitable, but must be removed and replaced immediately if contaminated. For extended contact, more exposure, thicker, more robust nitrile gloves are needed to provide better barrier protection and durability. Thicker gloves offer better resistance but can reduce grip and dexterity, impacting safety. Thicker, longer gloves, elbow length, are for higher risk task. Material options: nitrile, neoprene, butyl, and PVC are common materials. Blended or laminated gloves offer enhanced performance. Best practice: check before use. Always inspect gloves for rips or punctures before putting them on. Consult chemical resistance charts such as those from the EH&S, FSU, EHS, or Solace group to match glove material, nitrile, neoprene, etc. to the specific chemical's properties. Training is key. Workers need proper training on selection, use, and removal, disposal to maximize protection. OSHA glove selection chart is here. This is also through the Florida State University here, and they have a scientific article here that is public. It's one of the first things that pops up. But coming down, if you're interested in getting gloves, it's very, very easy to find. You need to get the correct gloves for chemical resistance for your specific task. As you can see, you could find it online. Different types of nitrile gloves, different thicknesses, goes by the mils. Next is hearing protection. Running machinery and running equipment such as pressure washers, generators, polishers, vacuums can damage hearing. OSHA requires employers to provide hearing protectors like earplugs or earmuffs at no cost for employees exposed to an 8-hour time-weighted average noise levels of 85 decibels dBA or greater as part of the mandatory hearing conservation program, which includes noise monitoring, audiograms training, and fitting. The goal is to reduce exposure below 90 decibels or 85 decibels if standard threshold shift occurs, ensuring that PPE fits properly and used correctly, and offers adequate noise reduction without blocking important sounds or interfering with other PPE, personal protective equipment, with double protection, sometimes necessary in very loud environments. Requirements: triggering level, employer responsibility, provide suitable hearing protections, offer a choice ensuring proper fitting, supervise use, and replace them if needed at no cost. Earplugs are inserted into the ear canal. Disposed foam, reusable, custom molded, are available. Earmuffs enclose the entire outer ear with sound dampening cups. Double pinning protection, using both earplugs and earmuffs simultaneously for very high noise levels, for instance 105 decibels. Proper use and fit. Fit is critical. Poor fit greatly reduces effectiveness. Ensure a secure seal. Avoid interference. Facial hair, glasses, and other PPE can break the seal of earmuffs. Annotation. HPDs must reduce noise below 90 decibels, but generally not below 70 decibels to allow for hearing of critical warning sounds. Training. Employees must be trained on correct use, care, and limitations. When shopping for hearing protection, you can clearly see it online just by a simple Google search. Hearing protection, OSHA, PPE. And this will ensure that you have the correct hearing protection that is up to spec and not just something that is called hearing protection and it doesn't meet any OSHA standards. The next option that you have is PPE, like earplugs, earmuffs, so dual protection. You also have other things that are on the market, such as this. So if you want to work and listen to music, they also have those available as well. These are earplugs, and also you can listen to music, or some of them have Bluetooth. A lot of them are Bluetooth. A lot of them have that available. Some of them actually have microphones to where you could talk to your coworkers and also answer phone calls. So these are available. They range in price. Some of these are actually pretty nice. Next thing is slip, trips, and falls. Now, slips can definitely occur with auto detailing, either by having a wet floor while washing a vehicle, or by even applying certain chemicals to the outside of a vehicle, the overspray getting on the concrete or on the floor for wherever you're working and causing a slip hazard. So if you are working doing auto detailing and you're looking for comfort, they do have that available. But OSHA does not specify tennis shoe styles, but requires protective footwear, including slip-resistant options that meet ASTM F2413 standards for hazards like impacts, compression, or electrical risk, often achieved with ASTM F293, F2913, testing for slip resistance, coefficient friction of something greater than 0.40 on wet or oily surfaces. Look for safety sneakers, athletic work shoes, or brands like Keen Utility. Okay, so one of the things to look for in safety features: sleek shoes with safety toes, composite or alloy for impact protection and slip resistance, or SR rubber outsoles with deep treads. Look for certifications. Look for ASTM F2413 icon, often with I/C, and mention of the ASTM spec. Testing for slip resistance on the shoe or its box and description. Safety sneakers or athletic work shoes use these terms on retailer sites such as Zappos, 6PM, or specialist sites like Safeguard. Brands consider, they have all different kinds: Keen Utility, Skechers Work, Reebok Work, New Balance, Timberland Pro. Shoes and Crews offer many athletic style safety shoes. Shoe labeled ASTM F241318EHSR is a good candidate, meaning it meets safety toe, impact compression, electrical hazard protection, and slip resistance standards. Because if at all possible, you work as safe as possible anyway. But having the correct footwear, especially if you're working around electricity, working around any type of area where slipping and falling is a risk, having the correct footwear is instrumental in helping ensure safety of your employees, of yourself, whatever you're doing, wherever you're working. And to get the task done safely is always number one. These are some examples. This is just by, you can see that I completely misspelled that, but it still came up. You see Reebok Work, you see Zappos. They range in prices. You can go as high up as you want to go for men and women. They have different work boots, of course, that you can get. But for the sake of auto detailing, I know a lot of auto detailers out there may not want to walk around in work boots. So these are work shoes. And pay attention to those specs. These are the OSHA guidelines. This is the Occupational Safety and Health Administration's page on personal protective equipment, title foot protection. These are your codes here, and this has everything that you need to know. And these are different certifications that we talked about here. Next is going to be respiratory protection. Respiratory protection is for mist and also dust, fumes and dust, particulates. It is outlined by the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. Part and title number is here, standard number. You could come down and read for yourself. In the control of those occupational diseases caused by breathing air contaminated with harmful dust, fogs, fumes, mist, gases, smokes, sprays, or vapors, the primary objective is to prevent atmospheric contamination. This shall be accomplished as far feasible by accepted engineering control measures, for example, enclosure and confinement of the operation, general and local ventilation, and substitution of less toxic materials. When effective engineering controls are not feasible, or while they are being instituted, appropriate respirators shall be used pursuant to this section. Respirators shall be provided to each employee which such equipment is necessary to protect health and safety of such employee. The employer shall provide the respirators which are applicable and suitable for the purposes intended. The employer shall be responsible for the establishment and maintenance of respiratory protection program, which shall include the requirements outlined in paragraph C of this section. The program shall cover each employee required by this section to use a respirator. There are different types of respirators. Some, of course, may not be demanded in the auto detailing space, but this is something that is currently and something that is regularly overlooked when talking about auto detailing and providing auto detailing services. So definitions. Following definitions: air purifying respirator means a respirating with air purifying cartridge. Cartridge or canister that removes specific air contaminants by passing ambient air through the air purifying element. Assigned protection factor. Atmosphere supplying respirator means a respirator supplies the respirator with breathing air from a source independent from the ambient atmosphere. Includes supplied air respirators or SARS. Self-contained breathing apparatus or SCUBA units, also known as SCUBA, SCBA. Canister or cartridge means a container with a filter, sorbent, or catalyst, or combination of these items which removes specific contaminants from the air passed through the container. Demand respirators means atmosphere supplying respirator emits breathing air to the facepiece only when a negative pressure is created inside the facepiece by inhalation. It also goes on to fit test. Fit test means a quantitative estimate of the fit particular respirator to a specific individual and typically estimates the ratio of the concentration of substance in the ambient air to its concentration inside the respirator when worn. Fit test means when the use of a protocol to qualitatively and quantitatively evaluate the fit of the respirator on an individual. See also qualitative fit test and also quantitative fit test. We're going to get to that. This is very important. We also have HEPA filters, hood, immediate dangers to life, means atmosphere that poses immediate threat to life, would cause irreversible adverse health effects or would impair individuals' ability to escape from a dangerous atmosphere. A loose-fitting facepiece means respiratory inlet covering the design to form a partial seal with the face. Now, coming down, one of the things to look at before you ever look at getting a respirator is the qualitative fit test. Means a pass-fail test to assess the adequacy of the respirator fit that relies on the individual's response to the test agent. Quantitative fit test means an assessment of adequacy of respirator fit by numerically measuring the amount of leakage into the respirator. Now, in order to have a respirator properly fit, such as a half mask or full face respirator, which we will visit here in just a second, in just a moment, is to ensure a seal. There's also regulations as far as having facial hair to ensure that the mask makes a seal around the head and around the face and around the chin. If you have facial hair and a beard, that seal cannot happen. It's not possible. The respirator does not work properly, and you're still breathing in the contaminants. You're still going to be breathing in the contaminants. So a fit test is needed, and it is within OSHA regulation. No point in wearing something and going through the trouble of putting it on if it's not going to work properly and it's not going to serve its purpose. So, first type of respirator that could be used for dust protection, especially when we're looking at just dust particulates, and understanding which respirator to choose and which mask to use will help you with choosing the right equipment and the right PPE for the certain situation, the specific situation that you're in. So for dust protection, OSHA requires employers to implement a full respiratory program, 29 CFR 1910.134. Okay, the type of respirator. The type of respirator depends on the dust concentration. Basic N95 is filtering at least 95% of particles. Pay attention to that. So N95 you can normally see right on the face of the mask. Basic N95 means that it filters at least 95% of the particles, work for lower levels, but higher concentrations, example greater than 10 times PEL, may need elastomeric half full mask with P100 filters or even powered air purifying respirators for extreme levels. Key requirements include a written program, fit testing, training, and medical evaluations ensuring that the respirator is NIOSH approved and suitable for the hazard. NIOSH approval. All respirators must be approved by the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health and labeled as such. Filter types: N series, N95, N99, N100. N means not resistant to oil. Read that. N means not resistant to oil. Filters 95, 99, or 99.97% of airborne particles respectively. The N95 is common for general dust. R series, resistant to oil. Example given, R95, R99, or R100. P series, P100, is oil proof. P100 filters or at least 99.97% of particles and provides the highest level of particulate protection. That's the P series P100. Respiratory types. Filtering face piece dust mask. Disposables like the N95 suitable for low hazard dust. Electromeric half and full mask, reusable mask with replaceable particulate filters. P100 recommended for higher protection. Full face provides eye protection as well. Then, of course, there's the powered air purifying respirator. Use a battery-powered fan to push air through the filters, offering high protection, easier breathing, and sometimes accommodating facial hair. Sometimes. That's subjective. So, here, you could see that you could find a P, because if you want something according to the P series 100, P100, you could find those here, and these are half mask. Now, as it said, you can get away with the N95, not resistant to oil, filters 95 to 99% or 99.97% of airborne particles, respectively. It is common for general dust. If you're doing auto detailing and you are working with compounds, polishes for paints, anything that produces a dust or cleaning the inside of a vehicle, eye protection with a dust mask can ensure that you are not breathing in the dust and the contamination from the inside of a vehicle. It does help protect you and your lungs and your health. When looking at something like the P100, we have to go back to for fumes. OSHA requires a half-mass respirator with appropriate chemical cartridges like organic vapor cartridges or supplied air system, emphasizing NIOSH approval, proper fit. Fit testing is mandatory with a minimum factor of 100 and correct filter cartridge selection based on a specific contaminant and its concentration. Key specs include fit factor 100 for half-mass NIOSH certification, 42 CFR Part 84, and proper cartridge pairing. Example given: organic vapor for vapors, particulate filters for dust and mist. So they do have different types of gas vapors. Gas vapor chemical cartridges specific to the hazard particulates, dust, mist, fumes. Use HEPA, P100, and other particulate filters. Combination. Use combination cartridges for both vapors and particulates, which can be very, very handy. Reusable, and then of course we get into the reusable elastomeric half mass, reusable face piece with replaceable cartridges and filters, silicone or rubber. And then we get into the supplied air respirators, the SARS, can be used with an alternative offering higher protection levels. Components must cover nose and mouth and form a tight seal, often with an exhalation valve for comfort. User training. Employees need training on proper use, limitations, and maintenance. You must identify the hazard, determine that the specific chemical, vapor, or gas, and if the particulates are present. Check concentration. Use NIOSH and OSHA tables to find the required assigned protection factor, APF, and respirator type. Select cartridge. Choose NIOSH approved cartridges for those specific vapors and gases. Example given: organic vapor. Perform a fit test. Fit test. Ensure the respirator fits your face to achieve the required protection factor. You could buy these in a lot of different places. You can see them here at Lowe's. I'm going to go ahead and click on the shopping here to give you a good example. They have a lot of 3M. These are without. These are the cartridges here. And you could see the different types. And I'm just letting you have a real good look here. Each one of these numbers that are on these cartridges, for instance, have a direct correlation to what type of particulate and what type of environment that they're made for. So full face respirator, which is center on the 29 CFR, 19110.134 requiring comprehensive respiratory protection program RPP covering medical evaluation, fit testing annually for tight fitting, training, proper selection based on assigned protection factors APFs like 50 for elastomeric full face, and maintenance ensuring the respirator forms a tight seal to protect against contaminants, especially with the immediately dangerous to life or health atmospheres where self-contained breathing apparatus, the scuba, or the supplied air respirators are needed. Medical evaluations, employees must receive a medical exam by a healthcare professional before using a respirator to ensure they can wear it safely, followed by periodic reevaluations. Fit testing, mandatory for tight-fitting respirators like full face to confirm a seal, performed initially, annually, and when changing models and sizes. Training. Users must be trained on respirator limitations, proper use, maintenance, and emergency procedures, and at least annually. That means once a year. Proper selection, assigned protection factor APF full face elastomeric respirator has an APF of 50, meaning it protects up to 50 times the exposure limit. NIOSH approval, all respirators and filters must be certified by NIOSH, the National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health. IDLH atmospheres for immediately dangerous to life or health, IDLH conditions of full face pressure demand, scuba or SAR with a auxiliary supply is required. User seal checks, workers must perform a positive negative pressure check seal every time they don the respirator, every time you put it on. Maintenance includes cleaning, disinfecting, and storing and inspecting respirators regularly. When is the full face respirator used? When dust, mist, fumes, vapors, gases are present and engineering controls aren't enough. To provide a high level of protection, APF 50, then half mask respirators, which only give an APF of 10 times. When eye protection is also needed for contaminants, you can give it in here. And here are some things to look at. When required for usage, this is required for usage according to OSHA. Fit testing, employers must provide a qualitative and quantitative fit test annually to ensure proper seal. Quantitative fit test QNFT for full face respirator requires a minimum pass of 500. Medical evaluation. Before wearing a respirator, an employee must undergo a medical evaluation by a licensed medical healthcare professional to ensure that they are physically capable of wearing the equipment. Facial hair. Tight-fitting respirators cannot be worn with facial hair that comes between the sealing surface and the face, as it interferes with the mask seal. Cleaning and maintenance. Respirators must be cleaned and disinfected regularly following procedures in the OSHA Appendix B2. Cartridges must be color-coded and labeled for the specific hazard. Purple Magneta, P100, 99% efficiency against all particulates. Black for organic vapors. Olive, multi-contaminant and CBRN agents. Yellow for organic vapors and acid gases. So you can also see how to maintain this here. Next is going to be a ground fault circuit interrupter. This goes hand in hand with all the rest of the PPE that is very, very minimal, which is recommended to use when auto detailing. And a ground fault circuit interrupter, GFCI, for extension cords, used in many situations, especially for construction sites and damp, wet areas to protect workers from shock. Either by using a GFCI built-in extension cord or plugging it into a GFCI outlet. This applies to cords connected to permanent wiring as well. Treating the cord's receptacle as a temporary, though exceptions risk for completed areas where hazards are minimal. Construction sites, GFCIs are mandatory for all 120 volt single phase and 15 and 20 amp receptacles not part of the permanent wiring, including extension cords or equivalent. Assured equipment grounding conductor program must be in place. Damp, wet locations. This is directly directly correlated with auto detailing and auto detailing operations. All extension cords used in wet or damp environments, outdoors, kitchens, bathrooms, construction, must have GFCI protection regardless of length. Temporary versus permanent extension cords are generally considered temporary, so their receptacles are not permanent and need GFCI protection even if plugged into a permanent building outlet. How to comply. GFCI extension cords. Use cords with built-in GFCIs or GFCI outlets / adapters. Plug your extension cord into the GFCI protected receptacle or use a portable GFCI adapter. In completed construction areas where this is exceptions. In completed construction areas where finishes are applied and workers aren't exposed to hazards from large grounded objects, OSHA might consider the requirement met. For general safety and compliance, always use GFCI protection with your extension cords, particularly in construction or wet conditions. It is a critical safety measure to prevent electrical shocks and electrocution. GFCIs are seen here. You can find them on everywhere from Uline, Granger Industries, Home Depot, Lowe's. You could find them a lot of different places. They vary in price. It may cost a little bit, but it is a added layer of protection, especially if you're working around electricity and in a damp condition such as doing any type of auto detailing. Safety first. So this has also been a conclusion of this module. Stay tuned for module number 3. This has been the overview of the bare minimum safety PPE and safety equipment that is recommended for auto detailing.